right, 25 minutes before 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. A couple of weeks ago, Robert and I had this idea, probably not an original idea, but just had this idea to create a website so that we could put these little audio clips of ourselves talking about some of the historical places around Ocala, and that way somebody with a smartphone with, a young person, maybe a child or a high school student or somewhere in between, who's interested, maybe visiting, they could kind of just click on this thing and hear us talking about whatever the history was of that particular building. And so many of the things that surfaced in doing that were that a lot of the stuff that happened that made a big change in our community was done by ladies, by women who apparently, I think 4 women started the Historical Ocala Preservation Society, I think. If I remember right, there's just 4 of them. Isn't it amazing sometimes that some of the history gets lost, especially when it comes to you ladies? There is an event happening that is happening on March 3rd, I believe. It's the Master the Possibilities Women Who Dared to Dream event. We had on the show, gosh, Robin just went to look it up. I really hope she can find it. They dared to dream. We had Doris Weatherford on the show by way of phone, and we had the book.
I can't recall the name, the date.
But we gave the book away to a listener, and she's going to be at this event. Am I right?
Yes,
Am I right about this? So in the studio is Margaret Spontak, and Margaret, gosh, your name goes so far back, but not that far back. Last month, there was an article, correct me if I'm wrong, in the Star Banner that you wrote about the water, right?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yes,
I did.
And if that was a national article, you should get some kind of an award for that article. But again, a lot of things don't get noticed because they're small, they're in Ocala, but it makes a big difference what you've done. Just this morning in the news, there was this protest about, people not so happy with what might be happening at the Rainbow River, which is exactly what you were writing about a month ago, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I was focused on the Silver River.
So that's kind of an awkward way to introduce you, but that's Margaret Spontak. She's the Director of Education for the Master of the Possibilities program on Top of the World. Dee Collier, I have to start with Dee because she's got a class to teach in about 20 minutes or so. So we've got to be really quick. And Dee, you've contributed to this community in so many ways, and you're such a pretty lady and the cutest clown, by the way, ever.
Thank you.
Yeah, whenever I see you in a clown costume, I say, why are people afraid of clowns? So
Yeah.
So good morning, Dee. We'll start with you. You are an actress. So that clown thing you do is really just one of many, many things.
One of many characters, yes.
Wow. And you're doing historical women?
Yes. I have about 10 different women that I feel have changed history. And I love portraying these people, and I'm asked to go to schools and churches and nursing homes and special events and things like that. But
I wouldn't know about it if it wasn't for Facebook. I love the fact that you post these things, and I get to see what you're doing, and I'm just curious, when I see these pictures, it looks like you love doing these things. Do you become those people?
I do. I was telling Margaret a minute ago that I portrayed Corrie ten Boom, the Holocaust survivor, yesterday at an event. And I had a lady follow me out to the car afterwards, tears in her eyes, she says, I know you weren't Corrie ten Boom, but you made me believe that you were. And it was like, yes, that's the whole point, is to make them believe them, to make them in the moment feel like they are feeling the same thing that these characters are feeling.
Wow.
And you do that absolutely well. You portrayed a character, a woman who was blind at my church.
I did.
And it was amazing. I mean, you entered through the door, you were dressed like her, you had the cane, and you were totally blind at that moment. It was amazing.
Matter of fact, you don't know this part of it, Robin, but afterwards, the lady who led me in and led me out, afterwards, when we went into the narthex, she said, now, what are you going to do? And I said, I'll change and head home. And she said, you drive?
Well, that's funny.
No, Dee is very believable.
gosh.
You are absolutely outstanding in your presentation.
All right, so let me allow you to promote the event, because you're going to, how many characters will you be at this event?
Oh, I'll just be one
Just one, okay.
I'll be one person that I call Lizzie Jane. She's actually a compilation of women living in Marion County in the late 1800s.
The late 1800s?
Yes,
Which is when this county kind of was born, right?
I start with the Second Seminole War with 1837 and the fort
Okay,
Fort
okay.
King.
Oh, wow.
And I go through the end of the century, pretty much, and tell them the events that took place in Marion County, but through the eyes of this compilation of women.
Really? And did you have to do a lot of research to do this?
Oh, yeah. Each character takes probably 100 hours of research.
100 hours.
Yes.
Wow.
And costuming, and I actually have dress rehearsals with myself.
So is this the name you've chosen for yourself? Is it a fictional name, or was there?
No, actually, that's my two grandmothers who had ties to Marion County.
Oh, okay, okay.
One grandmother, Lizzie, she and my grandfather had the livery stable in downtown Ocala at the turn of the century.
Where was that exactly?
Not exactly sure, but she said it was near the stream downtown.
There was a stream downtown.
We know about the stream.
Yeah.
We saw the last remnants of. I mean, it's still there underground, right?
Yes, it
But
is.
before the last part was covered up, it was behind the old WTMC when we did that
Yes. Yep.
back in
Next-
1990, I think it was, right?
Yeah, next to the Lincoln Mercury dealer.
So Smith's livery stable was there as well.
That's
at one
where it
time.
was, huh?
Yes, uh-huh.
And wasn't there a train depot sort of kind of
I believe so.
around that area?
The other name, the Jane part, comes from my other grandmother, Martha Jane. She and my grandfather lived in Palatka, but when they got married, there was no one in Palatka to marry them, so they had to come to Ocala
Is
to
that
be
right?
married.
Oh,
So
my
I
gosh.
want to honor their heritage
Right,
through my
right.
portraying this lady, and she's actually my comedy routine. She don't talk so good, but she sure do have fun.
You just slip right into it, don't you? Wow. Okay, so we will go to the event, and I know you've got to run. I want to get over to Margaret, but the event is happening. Tell me the dates again.
Next Friday at 1 p.m. is when I'm doing that at Master of the Possibilities.
Okay, and the facility is called the Master of the Possibilities, right?
Yeah, it's in Live Oak Hall. We have a lot of different classrooms, but Master of the Possibilities is out behind On Top of the World at Circle Square, where the Circle Square Cultural Center is, just
Okay.
down from there. And you can find a map on our website at masterofthepossibilities.org.
Okay.
So we can go see UD next Friday, March 3rd, and you will begin your presentation at 1 p.m.
1 p.m. Yeah,
Oh,
Lizzie Jane's gonna be there, tell you all about Marion County and its early days.
Oh, can you share with us one thing or that comes to mind when I ask, what did you discover that you did not know?
There were some really interesting people living in Marion County. Some of them deserve recognition, and some don't. And the Marion County was had that pioneer spirit about it. That not everything went well, but whatever happened, they decided that they were going to survive. They were going to make it. They were going to become a unit that we now call Marion County.
Is there not enough time to ask you this? What was the relationship between women and men, white people and black people, and Indians? Were we all getting along, or did we have our own little places in the world at that time?
In Marion County, there seemed to be more cohesion than in other locations because we had to work together. There of course, were slaves before the Civil War, and that also gets put into my presentation. And what did people do in Marion County when slavery was abolished? It was actually planting season when the Emancipation Proclamation and then the amendment to the Constitution came along that said that there was to be no more slavery. Planting season, what did we do? There was a gentleman who had the idea of get all the slaves together and tell them they were no longer slaves, but that if they were to stay and work the plantations, that they would get a share of the crops when it came in.
Okay, wow.
That
That's
is
pretty
so
interesting. So no
fascinating.
wages, just crops.
Crops, right,
Wow,
that they could then sell.
Were wages, I see. Were wages necessary? I guess money is always necessary, huh? I was just
Yeah,
wondering
but-
what it was like back then.
Confederate money was worth nothing.
Oh, so they were all of a sudden everybody was broke.
Uh-huh.
Oh my goodness.
And there was no government in the state because the governor had killed himself. There was no money.
I didn't know that.
Well, you have to come next Friday at 1
Exactly.
Oh my
One
gosh.
o'clock.
All right. I know
You
you've got to
gotta do this.
run.
Yes, I
Dee, always good to see you. I love keeping up with you on Facebook. You are an amazing lady.
Thank you very much.
You are one of the leaders of our community. We will be right back. Margaret Spontak will tell us the rest of the story on the other side of the break. Let's take that break, and we will be right back.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. On this Friday, a mix of clouds and sunshine, high 78 to 82. Partly cloudy Friday night, low 56 inland, 62 on the coast. There can be some fog patches late Friday night and Saturday morning. Otherwise, partly sunny Saturday, high 80 to 84. Sunday, sunshine and cooler, highs generally in the low to mid 70s. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Hey, Ocala and the villages, it's time to fill up that bare spot with a gorgeously blooming camellia from Bob Wine's Camellia Gardens. Here's why. Bob has thousands of budded and blooming camellias now on display, and you can get your own with prices starting at a very reasonable $9.99. While you're there, be sure to load up on those spring veggies, all fresh and green and ready for planting. Yes, Bob's veggies are still the same low price. A jumbo 4-pack, just $2.99. And some of the best-looking Gerber daisies, an Ocala favorite. They're huge, and are you ready for this price? Just $2.99. $2.99 at Bob Wine's Camellia Gardens. Truckload tree sale, too. A huge selection, truly amazingly low prices. Bob Wine's Camellia Gardens, Southeast 38th Street, Ocala, just east of Lake Weir Avenue. They're open daily till 4:30, Saturdays till 2, in the same blooming place since 1952.
That was the sound of a tree falling. It could be your tree. You're going to have it trimmed, but never got around to calling Pride Tree Service. It could have fallen in a field, and now all you have to do is call Pride Tree Service, and they'll have it quickly out of the way for a great price. But don't wait until the tree falls. It may not fall in the field. It may hit your car, your house, or worse. So call Pride Tree Service today and avoid all those headaches before they happen. Pride Tree Service, 572-2510. That's 572-2510.
If you or a loved one is suffering with knee, shoulder, neck or back pain, plantar fasciitis, peripheral neuropathy, and even tennis elbow, and would like to learn about how there are treatments that may benefit you, go to drjuanyordan.com, then listen in on the first and third Thursday at 10 a.m. and hear from health professionals doing these treatments and patients who have benefited from them. First and third Thursdays, 10 a.m. Next Generation MD, right here on The Source.
Come to the 4th Annual Habitat Strawberry Festival on March 4th, 2017 at the McPherson Government Complex. The festival's goal is not only to have vendors, food, a car show, a kids zone, live entertainment featuring One Flight Up, a lip sync competition, police versus fire department pie eating contest, and all things strawberry. But to also raise funds to build a habitat home for a family in our community. Check out the website, habitatocala.org, and follow the link. The Habitat for Humanity Strawberry Festival is March 4th with breakfast served at 7:30. Free parking, free admission.
12 minutes before 10 o'clock, I work with a lady who is a contributor to this community every single day, Robin McLean, and a lot of you don't realize how much Robin contributes to the community, and so it's with that spirit that I kind of can relate to what this whole thing is about. Margaret Spontak is in the studio. She is part of the event that we were just talking about with Dee Collier. Dee had to leave because she's teaching a class. There's another contribution to our community. And let me just read my notes so I don't get it wrong. Margaret is the Director of Education at the Master of the Possibilities program, Top of the World. And there are a few different dates of events. The Dee Collier, who was just here, will be doing her presentation Friday, March 3rd from 1 till 2. Author Doris Weatherford, you might have heard us interviewing Doris, I can't remember when it was, but it wasn't that long ago, maybe a week or two ago. She'll be there talking on March 7th from 2:30 to 3:30, and then 4 o'clock till 5:30. And Ursula Knox Odom, and she'll be talking about, I think it's contributions of Black Ocalans or Black Floridians. Am I right about that?
Well, actually, her focus will primarily be on Dr. Mary Mcleod Bethune.
Oh, okay.
Who founded Bethune-Cookman College, a really remarkable Black woman, state and a national leader. And then during the coffee house, she is going to share one of her own stories. So she's one of many tellers that are going to be in the 4 to 5:30 period.
So, Margaret, thank you for coming in again. And why is it that when history is written, is it because it's his story, that old kind of cliche thing? Why is it that we leave the contributions of women out, or we minimalize them? You know, in the Bible we don't. I mean, Mary played a pretty big role, didn't she? But I mean, why? Why do we do this, you think?
Oh, I don't know. I see the same. We have some Black History events running yesterday and today. We have two very wonderful speakers. Emmett Coyne's talking this afternoon on slavery, and it's kind of been the same way with our famous Black leaders. But I don't want to dwell on that. I want to talk about how can we learn more about not just the big names that you hear about, but there are a lot of women that have done remarkable things that aren't that featured that often. And we've tried to do this in a format. Our theme at Master the Possibilities this term is the power of stories. We have 750 classes this term going on.
750 classes?
That's right. Now, a
Wow.
class may be an hour, it may be 4 sessions, it may be a full-day workshop. They are different formats, and there are no tests, no stress. So it's very great lifelong learning experiences.
Learn what you want to and absorb what you want to, right?
Yeah.
So in order to do this, did you have to take the classes? Did you have to learn what's being taught?
The practice I try to do is anytime we have a new faculty member, I try to sit in on that. Obviously, I can't sit in on 750 classes.
Yeah.
But we, of course, interview our faculty that come in. Our faculty are amazing. About 60, I think 5% of them donate their time. That's why our prices can be so low. But we have faculty emeritus from NYU University. We have authors. We have just incredible people, primarily from Marion County, but we invite visiting scholars each time, and these would be 2 visiting scholars that I'm talking about today.
What is the common thread? What is the common thread?
In terms of the topic or the people?
Yeah.
Well, that's why we went to this theme idea. We have a broad range of classes, very strong arts program. We have 3 arts labs. We do stained glass, pottery, painting. We do history, science, a lot of current events is very popular, computers. Our lifestyle and fun. So what we did with this theme is each term a portion of our classes, maybe 25% of them are focused on something special. And storytelling is so broad. We've had storytelling related to health, storytelling related to history, as Dee's doing, storytelling related to discovering yourself and changing your story. There's a class on that.
So my initial impression was that this is contributions from women. I'm not right about that. It's
women
contributions, period.
Yeah, but women are the feature for March.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, and so we have these 3 strong programs. Dee's the Lizzie Jane thing that focuses on Marion County. Doris Weatherford, I've heard her talk before. She is incredible. She was in a class. We focused on American history. We focused on Florida history that day. She asked women in the class what states they were from after she had finished her formal lecture, and she could go into each state and hit the highlights of women in history, and I think there were 14 or 15 states represented in the room.
Oh, wow.
So she's incredible. They Dared to Dream, the newest book she has, is just one of many books she's published. So I encourage people, that's March 7th from 2:30 to 3:30. Then we do about a half-hour break, and then we'll start our storytelling coffee house. We call it Fireside Stories. So she's the lead-off for our Fireside Stories. The third program is, and I was had Ursula Knox Odom down here for Juneteenth celebration this June. She does a couple of different, does historic interpretation as well, and one of her most famous characters she does is Dr. Mary Mcleod Bethune, who was legendary in education, and she was actually a government official, one of the highest level held by women in the Roosevelt administration. And so Mary Mcleod Bethune is just a wonderful, and she was founder of Bethune-Cookman University, which most people know. But that will be as March 21st from 2:30 to 3:30.
So is there a way to kind of have this information? Do you have a website we can go to, or?
Yes, the simplest thing is you can go to masterthepossibilities.org.
Okay.
And you'll click on the course the course catalog is actually on the front page if you want to look at what the print catalog looks like, and these are on page 52 and 53. But you can also click on the course catalog and you do a search for women's history, and they'll pop up the 3 Women History features things. And it's easy to register online, super easy.
We've talked about the lady who was instrumental in stopping the Cross Florida Barge Canal, Marjorie Harris Carr. Am I remembering her name right?
Yeah. That one of my highlights in my career is Peggy Kavanaugh, who is no longer in Ocala, and I wrote a book on protecting paradise on Florida's environment, and I got to interview Marjorie Carr, the most fascinating person. And a lot of newcomers don't really know about the Cross Florida Barge Canal. We just did a history on that,
and they don't know how would Silver Springs look today if that had been allowed to happen?
Yeah,
it might not be pretty.
Yeah, it would have devastated the water resources and the aquifer.
And if I could just go back to the article you wrote a month ago, I'm trying to remember. It feels like it was yesterday, but it feels like it was after the New Year sometime. And you had a trail of shame or a timeline of shame or something like that.
Yeah, I actually worked at the Water Management, St. John's Water Management District, and I had worked with some of the finest people really there. But there's just been such delays for a lot of reasons, and there wasn't, back when I worked there, I kept on pushing. We need to focus on Silver Springs because it is a huge source of water in the state, and at that time it was the largest artesian spring in the world.
So this right here, this topic is what puts you on the map in the same category of women. I know you're too humble to say that, but can I just tap into your brain a little bit about this, because it's in today's news with the Rainbow River, that minimum
flows and levels.
Yeah, that 5% they're talking about. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? What is that?
Well, minimum flows and levels, water is so darn complicated, but minimum flows and levels was something that was legislated by the state legislature long time ago, that the water management districts were supposed to establish this for each of priority water bodies. And what minimum means is that is the kind of the breaking point you don't want to withdraw any more from.
Right.
And but there was no deadline placed on this, as often is, and not much funding associated with it. So that's why it's taken so darn long to get to that.
But does that include the underground rivers? In other words, the aquifer?
Yes, modeling's very, and that was one of the things I was discussing in the article. And modeling is very complicated. It factors in rainfall, it factors in flow, it factors in all different factors to come up, and it's a science, but it's also an art, because I met with a lot of the different water management districts around the state at that point, and they were all doing their models slightly different back then.
Well, I've watched Robin take things, just be passionate about things, and take her words and write letters and actually make changes in people's lives for the better. You've done the same thing, and I think your skills with words are what make you give us the contribution you're able to give us. And so I so wish we had more time to talk about this, Margaret. We want to continue to promote this, so the best thing I can say is go to the website, masterthepossibilities.org. Go to the events and learn about your history, learn about women in history in March, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about this. I want to show up and attend some of them.
Great. Well, it's so cool to see people. all of us have things we wish we had more time to have learned when we were younger.
Right.
Even working people, I'd like to sit in on all 750 classes.
Oh my goodness, yes.
So it's very uplifting to a lot of people to have a time to go in and get into art that they always dreamt of.
Margaret, we're out of time. Thank you so much for being with us today. What an honor. We'll be right back.
Studios. This is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.